There is a hierarchy in every room you enter. You cannot see it, but you feel it. Someone commands attention without effort. Their words carry weight. When they speak, others lean in. When they leave, the energy shifts. You have felt this your entire life, yet no one has ever explained why it happens or how it works. Social dominance is not about charisma. It is not about being loud or extroverted. It is not about likability. These are fairy tales sold to keep you compliant. The people at the top understand something you were never taught. Human beings are hierarchical animals. We organize ourselves into pecking orders as instinctively as wolves or primates. And just like in nature, those hierarchies are enforced through subtle displays of dominance and submission that most people participate in without conscious awareness. Machiavelli understood this when he wrote that the lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. Social dominance requires both force and cunning. The dominant do not announce their position, they occupy it. Others simply recognize and defer to it. Carl Jung wrote about the shadow, the parts of ourselves we repress because society deems them unacceptable. Ambition, aggression, the desire to dominate. You have been taught to suppress these impulses. Meanwhile, those who never suppressed these instincts are running the organizations you work for, dating the people you desire, and living the lives you envy. This video will give you the 7 laws of social dominance that operate beneath every human interaction. These are not moral lessons. These are observational truths about how power is acquired and maintained. You can reject them on moral grounds if that makes you comfortable, but they will continue to operate with or without your participation. The only question is whether you will be subject to these laws or whether you will master them. The first law of social dominance is this: whoever controls the frame controls the interaction. Frame is the lens through which a situation is interpreted. It is the unspoken agreement about what is happening, what matters, and who has authority. The dominant individual does not accept frames imposed by others. They impose their own. 2 people are in a job interview. The traditional frame is: the employer holds power. The candidate seeks approval. The submissive candidate accepts this frame. They answer questions carefully, hoping to impress. The dominant candidate reframes. They evaluate whether the company is worthy of their time. They ask challenging questions. Same room, different frame. The dominant candidate just communicated, "I am the prize here, not you." Status just shifted. Frame control operates everywhere. A woman shows up late to a date. The submissive response accepts her frame. "I am low value, therefore I will tolerate disrespect." The dominant response reframes, "My time has value. If you do not respect it, this interaction ends." He does not argue. He simply enforces the frame that his time matters. When someone challenges your position or boundaries, they are attempting frame hijacking. Weak people defend. They argue. They explain. Dominant people reframe or withdraw. They do not engage on terms that diminish them. This is why the most powerful people in any room often say the least. They do not need to convince anyone of their value. Their frame is so solid that others instinctively adjust to it. The person who speaks less, reacts less, and needs less is almost always holding the frame. To master frame control, become aware of the frames being imposed on you daily. Your boss frames you as expendable labor. Your romantic interest frames you as one of many options. These frames only hold power if you accept them. The moment you stop defending and start reframing through action and boundaries, the hierarchy shifts. Frame is reality. Control the frame, control the relationship. The second law. Status is demonstrated through behavior, not announced through words. People who constantly talk about their achievements are revealing insecurity. True status does not explain itself. It simply exists, and others recognize it. High-status individuals are unhurried. They do not rush to fill silence. They do not over-explain their decisions. When they make a statement, they do not follow it with justifications. They state and stop. This communicates certainty. Certainty is the foundation of perceived status. Low-status behavior is excessive explanation and seeking validation. I know this might sound stupid, but you just announced your own low status. High-status individuals do not qualify their statements because they do not fear judgment. Status is demonstrated through scarcity. The dominant are difficult to access. They do not respond immediately to every message. They do not rearrange their schedule without compelling reason. This creates perceived value. Scarcity signals importance. People with nothing important to do are always available. This signals low status because abundant availability suggests low demand. Status also rises through association. High-status people are selective about their inner circle. When you are seen with high-status individuals, your status rises. When you spend time with low-status people, your status deteriorates. This is why social climbing works. Proximity to power confers perceived power. If you are always the most successful person in your social circle, you are in the wrong circle. You should be around people who make you uncomfortable with how much more they have achieved. That discomfort is growth. Behavioral cues matter more than credentials. A person with elite credentials who demonstrates needy behavior will be treated as low status. A person with average credentials who demonstrates calm certainty will be treated as high status. Perception overrides reality. Stop announcing your worth. Start embodying it through how you move, speak, and allocate your time. The third law. Silence is more powerful than speech. Most people fear silence. They fill gaps with nervous chatter. This reveals anxiety. Dominant individuals are comfortable with silence. They use it strategically to create pressure and assert control. Silence makes others uncomfortable, and discomfort makes people reveal themselves. In negotiations, the person who speaks first after an offer usually loses. Silence creates tension. The other party, unable to tolerate the void, will either improve their offer or expose their position. Silence also communicates that you are not seeking approval. When you make a statement and do not follow it with justification, you signal certainty. When someone challenges you and you respond with silence instead of defense, you communicate that their challenge is beneath response. Consider a meeting where someone criticizes your idea. The submissive response is to defend immediately. The dominant response is silence, a pause, eye contact, then either a calm restatement or moving forward as if the objection never occurred. In relationships, silence signals self-sufficiency. The person comfortable with silence does not need constant validation. This is attractive because it suggests high value. People are drawn to those who do not need them. Silence after making a request forces response without dilution. I need this by Friday. Silence. No qualifications. The silence enforces the boundary. There is a reason the most respected people in any room are often the quietest. They speak only when they have something meaningful to contribute. When they do speak, others listen, because their words are rare and therefore valuable. Master silence. Use it to create tension. Avoid unnecessary defense and make your words carry weight. The fourth law. The person who cares less controls the interaction. Emotional unreactivity signals that external circumstances do not dictate your internal state. You are the source of your emotional reality, not a reactor to outside stimuli. When someone insults you and you react with anger, you just gave them control. They pressed a button and you performed. When someone insults you and you remain calm, you demonstrate that their words have no power. You just reversed the dynamic. True unreactivity is internal calm that naturally produces external calm. This requires emotional mastery. Marcus Aurelius wrote that you always have the option to have no opinion, to not be disturbed. The obstacle is not the event, but your judgment of the event. In conflicts, the person who remains calm while the other becomes emotional wins. Emotion clouds judgment. The calm person maintains clarity and thinks strategically, while the emotional person reacts tactically. Unreactivity also applies to positive emotions. If you become visibly excited when someone offers you something, you signal that the offer exceeds your perceived value. High-status people receive offers with measured appreciation, not desperate gratitude. In relationships, the person who becomes emotionally invested first, who shows visible excitement, who rearranges their life, loses power. The person who remains measured, who has other priorities, holds power. This is not game playing. This is outcome independence. One technique is reframing. When something bad happens, ask, "How is this useful?" This trains your mind to process events analytically rather than emotionally. Another technique is pre-commitment. Decide in advance that you will not react to certain provocations. When provocation comes, you execute a pre-made decision, not an emotional reaction. The person who masters unreactivity becomes nearly impossible to manipulate. They cannot be provoked, flattered, or destabilized. The fifth law. Value is determined by scarcity, not quality. You can be the most competent person in the room, but if you are always available, you will be perceived as low value. Scarcity creates demand. Abundance destroys it. Your time and attention are commodities. If you give them away freely, they become worthless. If you ration them strategically, they become valuable. Luxury brands artificially limit supply to maintain exclusivity. Hermes does not produce enough Birkin bags to meet demand. This is intentional. Scarcity drives desire. You must apply the same principle to yourself. Being always available signals that you have nothing better to do. When you respond immediately to every text, you train people to perceive you as low priority. When you respond selectively and with delays, you signal that you have priorities. This does not mean being rude. It means genuinely prioritizing your time and allocating it only to high-value interactions. If you are constantly helping people who never reciprocate, you are training them to disrespect your time. Strategic scarcity applies to information. Do not overshare. Mystery creates intrigue. When people know everything about you, there is nothing left to discover. In social settings, do not stay the longest. Leave while energy is high. Leave people wishing you had stayed longer. If you stay until the event dies, you communicate that you have nowhere better to be. If you always say yes, people stop valuing your yes. If you say no strategically, your yes becomes meaningful. Make yourself difficult to access, and you will be valued more highly. Scarcity must be authentic. Build a life so full of valuable priorities that your time genuinely is scarce. The sixth law. Dominance is taken, not granted. Leaders do not ask for permission. They act, and others follow. Waiting for approval is submissive behavior. Dominant individuals decide and move. In group settings, the person who makes decisions becomes the leader. Someone asks, "Where should we eat?" The dominant person says, "We're going to X," and starts walking. They just became the leader through decisiveness. In professional environments, the person who sets the agenda and makes decisions assumes leadership regardless of title. If you wait for your boss to tell you what to do, you are a subordinate. If you identify problems and implement solutions, then inform your boss, you demonstrate leadership. Asking for permission signals that you do not believe you have authority. High performers operate at the edge of their authority and occasionally beyond when situations demand. They violate small rules strategically to achieve results, then apologize if necessary. In social dynamics, leading means planning activities and organizing events. The person who does this becomes the center of the group. Leading through action also means owning mistakes. When you make a decision and it fails, acknowledge it and move to solutions. Owning failure increases respect because it demonstrates willingness to take responsibility. Stop asking if you can. Start doing and accept the consequences. Most people will not challenge you because challenging requires effort. They will simply follow the path of least resistance. Permission seeking is a habit formed in childhood. Unlearn it. Act first. Apologize if necessary, but stop waiting for someone else to grant you permission to occupy space. The seventh law. Boundaries are meaningless unless enforced. You can set all the boundaries you want, but if you do not defend them, you are teaching people that your boundaries are negotiable. Dominant individuals enforce consequences immediately when boundaries are violated. Every relationship is a negotiation of boundaries. Most people never explicitly set them, so they tolerate treatment they resent. Resentment builds. Eventually, they explode or exit. This is poor boundary management. Establish boundaries early and enforce them consistently. If someone is late to a meeting, the dominant response is to address it immediately. I value punctuality. If this happens again, we will reschedule. If it happens again, you enforce the consequence. You do not argue. You enforce. Enforcement must be immediate and unemotional. If someone disrespects you, address it in real time. That does not work for me. Adjust your tone or we end this conversation. Then wait. Either they comply or you leave. People fear that enforcing boundaries will make them disliked. This is true. People who benefited from your lack of boundaries will resent you. Let them. Their resentment reveals they valued access without reciprocity. High-quality people respect boundaries because they have boundaries of their own. Only set boundaries you are prepared to uphold. If you say, "If you do X, I will leave," and then you do not leave when they do X, you destroyed your credibility. Boundary enforcement requires eliminating second chances for severe violations. If someone betrays your trust significantly, the dominant move is immediate removal from your life. Giving second chances for major violations teaches people that your boundaries are soft. Enforcing boundaries will cost you relationships. This is not a loss. It is a filter. People who cannot respect your boundaries do not respect you. Removing them creates space for higher quality relationships. Boundaries are respect made visible. If you do not enforce them, you are announcing that you do not respect yourself. And if you do not respect yourself, no one else will either. Social dominance is not inherited. It is learned behavior. The 7 laws I just gave you are not morality. They are mechanics. They describe how human hierarchies form and how positions within those hierarchies are negotiated. You can reject these laws on ethical grounds. That is your choice. But understand that your rejection does not stop these laws from operating. Others will use them, whether you do or not. Frame control determines whose reality prevails. Status is demonstrated through behavior. Silence creates pressure. Emotional unreactivity makes you immune to manipulation. Scarcity makes you valuable. Action creates leadership. Boundary enforcement protects your position. These are tools. Use them or be subject to those who do. Most people will watch this video and do nothing. They will feel uncomfortable with the coldness of these truths. They will reject them as too ruthless. And they will remain confused about why others advance while they stagnate. But you are still here. That suggests you are different. You are willing to look at uncomfortable truths about power and hierarchy. Implementation separates knowledge from power. Pick one law. Apply it consistently for 30 days. Watch what changes in how people respond to you. If you want to go deeper into the psychology of power and strategic social behavior, subscribe. There are more uncomfortable truths ahead. Mechanisms that operate beneath the surface of human interaction that most people never learn. The question is not whether these dynamics exist. They do. The question is whether you will remain unconscious of them or whether you will master them. Choose wisely.